Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the SecureLink. I'm Ananya Velati, and today we've got an amazing guest with us. We're super excited to have Mr. Sylvain Hirsch on the show. Mr. Sylvain is a top expert in cyber strategy and incident response, with tons of experience helping organizations navigate the tricky world of cybersecurity. Mr. Hirsch, please do say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for the invite. I'm Sylvain Hirsch, originally from Switzerland. I've been working in cybersecurity for several years now. I did my master's degree in cybersecurity. Then I worked for a bank in incident response before joining Mandiant doing incident response. And now I'm part of Google and I work as a cybersecurity strategist.
All right, so let's jump right into the interview. So, Mr. Hirsch, could you explain what an incident retainer service is and why companies opt to take up this service?
Yeah, I always love to talk about incident retainer, response retainer services. I personally think that every organization should have one in place. There's several reasons why. Today we know that breaches are inevitable. Therefore, organizations will need the right support when they face a cybersecurity incident. So the incident response retainer will help an organization to get a pre-arrangement or pre-agreement with a safety firm that will help them to investigate and to remediate from a cybersecurity incident. So on top of having that preparedness and knowing who to contact, having that incident response retainer in place beforehand allow the organization to get quick support, sometimes even get cost efficiency because they can negotiate the term and condition. But I think incident response retainer are really key to make sure organization have the right partner. They know who to call. They also know how the organization will support them. On top of that, most of the organization don't have the skills and expertise to investigate large cybersecurity incidents, whereas cybersecurity firms that do that on a day-to-day basis have the right resources from a people perspective, but also they've got the right technology. And also most of the time they've got like intelligence, for example, in cybersecurity that they will use. They know who's the threat actors, they know how the threat actors operate, and they can enable the organization to quickly recover from the cybersecurity incident, in order just to limit the impact on the organization.
Thank you. That's very interesting. So they're kind of like an extra support for a company.
Yeah, then extra support. Thankfully, organizations don't get badly hit by ransomware or large cyber espionage activity on a day-to-day basis. But it's like a fireman. When there's a fire in your house, you want to get the right support to quickly contain the fire and to limit the impact. And this is exactly the same with a cybersecurity incident. So when an organization is hit by a ransomware, they want to have the ability to quickly call for help, get the right support to limit the impact on the organization.
That's very interesting. So I noticed that you mentioned ransomware, which leads perfectly into our next question. How do ransomware attack negotiations typically proceed? And could you share some insights into this process?
Yeah, again, interesting topic that we discuss quite often with the executive. Before even starting about like negotiation, there's a lot of organizations that always said they will never pay. But I always tend to remind people when we talk about ransomware and like ransom, we're not talking about paying the ransom. We first discussing about negotiating with the threat actors. And that often allowed organization to gain time, also to get insight into what the attacker is after, also to gain some information about the threat actors. Usually when we do threat actors negotiation, the organization will start to gain insight into the threat actors, who they are, and that will also help the organization to know the possibility that they have in terms of ransom payment if they can't recover from, for example, the backup. I think it is always key to remind organizations that they should not negotiate directly with threat actors. we always recommend organization to negotiate with a threat actors negotiator. So same as an incident response retainer, before being breached, before having a ransomware, I strongly advise organization to check sometime with the cyber insurance like organization or cyber insurance to make sure they've got ransomware negotiator coverage within the contract. They also know how the process will look like, just to empower them to know a bit what's the process, what's the information that they will need to give to them, what can they expect from the threat actors negotiator, and also just to understand just the options. If they really can't recover from the backup, what's the probability to recover from the threat actors decryption key? What's the challenges related to ransomware payments, as well as what's the challenges to recover your data after paying the ransom? Even if the decryption key works, there's a lot of challenges related to decryption after a ransomware incident. So just in summary, it doesn't mean that if you pay the ransom and you obtain the decryption key and the decryption key works, you won't recover your data in one day. There's a lot of complexity related to that recovery, and organizations need to understand that.
Very interesting. So, do you have any examples of a good situation where the company that you work for, or any company that you might know of, where this ransomware negotiation succeeded in favor of that company? And do you have an example where it sort of failed for that company?
So in my role, we don't negotiate. We also don't encourage organization to pay the ransom. There's several reasons behind that, but we always provide the opportunity to connect our clients with a threat actors negotiator. I've worked on many incident response engagement where organization took contact with the threat actors. Sometimes they paid a ransom, sometimes they didn't. We've seen publicly available report and incidents where large organizations paid a ransom just to have several options to recover the data. I've also seen organizations paying a large amount of money to avoid their data being published on data leak website and having the data available to the world. I've also seen organizations paying the ransom because the backup environment was compromised and the only ability to recover was with the decryption key. And again, there's a lot of complexity because when you obtain the decryption key from the threat actors, the first thing that you need to do is to verify that this is not an additional malware. So first, the organization will need to do malware analysis of that decryption key, verify that it works to decrypt the file. Then they will need to do a backup of the encrypted data. Then they will need to try the decryption process. Sometimes it works, sometimes it will fail. If it fails, they will need to try again. And that decryption processes could be very long. So yeah, I've seen kind of all the scenario: organization paying, organization just negotiating to gain additional insight that will also support the investigation. I've seen organization paying to get the decryption key. So yeah, there's a bunch of scenario depending on the incident and the impact of it.
So I know you've provided a lot of facts already, but could you provide some more additional facts on ransomware payments specifically and how they're typically made?
So ransomware payment are typically made through like any cryptocurrency. Obviously, it is way more difficult to trace any transaction in the crypto world. So usually the threat actors negotiator will do the payment on behalf of the clients. And after that, the client will just pay the threat actors negotiator because not every company has a crypto wallet with a large amount of money that they could quickly transfer to the threat actors. That's also the reason why threat actors negotiator is a good stakeholders and partner to have, because they will provide that support if needed.
All right, and for our last question today, is it legitimate to pay ransomware attackers, and what are the implications of doing so?
Maybe you're going to start by saying I'm not a lawyer, so don't take all my words for granted. There's a lot of complexity these days about ransom payments. Also, depending on the regulations, where the organization is, depending on the country. But I think the most commonality across all these laws is about sanctioned countries. So if a threat actors is linked to any terrorist or sanctioned countries, it might be illegitimate to pay the ransom. That's also why some threat actors tend to avoid being linked to any of the sanctioned countries to make sure they will be paid, because at the end of the day, for them, this is simply a business. What they want is to target organizations to get their ransom being paid. And that's also why there's a lot of threat actors that will make sure they don't publish the data as agree with the client if the ransom is being paid. Because from a business perspective, if I'm a threat actor and you pay the ransom for me not to publish the data, and after the ransom being paid, I do publish the data, the next organization to be hit, knowing that they're dealing with me, that didn't keep my word, like they will probably not pay the ransom because they will know that even if I pay the ransom, the threat actors will publish the data. So at the end of the day, sadly, this is a business from the crime, like cyber crime, and like threat actors tend to maximize their return on investment. Therefore, they will make sure they're not related to any sanctioned countries, and make sure they've got a high success rate of payment being made.
It's very interesting. I didn't think of it like a business, so they kind of have to just strategically plan in the best way just to make sure they get their outcome.
Maybe just on that note, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the affiliate model. What we see today is there's a lot of threat actors that work together, and it's like a proper like end-to-end business. So there's some threat actors that are highly specialized into breaking into organization. After breaking into organization, they will pass over the access to that organization to another threat actors that will compromise the network. Then another threat actor group come into play and deploy the ransomware. And lastly, there's a threat actor group that will negotiate with the organization. And once the ransom is being paid, they will just like share the ransom between each other as agreed based on the term and conditions. So it is a business.
All right. Thank you very much. And that's all for today. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch, for joining us and sharing your insights. And thank you to our listeners for tuning into this episode of the SecureLink. You can connect with us on Instagram at the SecureLink.podcast. And until next time, stay curious, stay secure, and remember your connection to knowledge starts here.